CS2 is fully and truly upon us. The last ever CSGO HLTV Top 20 is drawing to a conclusion, and the first ever CS2 Major is almost here. But the transition has been far from seamless. Rosters are in flux, the game itself is still ironing out some kinks, and craziest of all, the greatest global offensive player to ever touch the game isn't, well, playing. A lot is changing. And where's s1mple? All right, so before we dive into the video, just wanted to remind all of you beautiful, talented Counter-Strike lovers that we, theScore Esports, have a Face It clan. It's totally free to join, links in the description. You get a real-ass anti-cheat, points to spend in the Face It shop, and a hearty, fun-loving gameplay experience. So yeah, s1mple. For those who don't know, and I can't imagine that's many of you, a few months back, the inimitable Sasha Kostiliev announced that he would be taking a break from competitive Counter-Strike 2. To some, this didn't come as a surprise, given that he, like many of us, had been airing his frustrations about the game for quite some time. But it does beg the question, where is our GOAT? Why did he take a step back, and what's he been up to in the meantime? Well, for starters, his reasons for wanting to take a breather in the first place are probably only partly related to CS2 itself, and just as much a symptom of some real life stuff that he made clear he is actively trying to figure out. How much this has to do with the ongoing war in Ukraine and how much disruption it's caused in he and his family's life, who's to say? But the point is that he probably had reasons outside of shitty netcode for wanting to take a step back. He did make clear that upon returning, he'd entertain the idea of abandoning the AWP in favor of a rifle and even playing for an org other than Na'Vi, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, all things considered, I do think it's fair to at least wonder what is at stake in s1mple taking such a significant step back from competition. Now, obviously, he is coming back. He's made that clear. But the qualifiers for the Major are unfolding as we speak. Imagine the first ever CS2 Major happens and s1mple isn't there to compete. Imagine ZywOo wins his second Major in a row and s1mple's not there to put up a fight. Homie took 7th on last year's HLTV ranking, which by s1mple standards is pretty much unthinkable, but there is the obvious caveat that he literally has 0 recorded officials in CS2, which, like, I mean, let's be honest, the guy took 7th on the HLTV ranking in spite of having never played a single professional match of CS2. That is the most gangster shit I've ever heard. Anyway, I'm obviously not suggesting that like s1mple's legacy is like slipping away or anything. I'm just saying that his absence means something. ZywOo is all but guaranteed to secure his 3rd HLTV #1, and he's already getting a head start on 2024. If he ends 2024 as #1, that gives him 4 #1s, the most of any player in history. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the first Major's in March, man. Like, that's a quarter of the year. If s1mple is gonna reinsert himself into the show, then he should probably do it sooner rather than later. We still have no idea what position he's gonna play or what org he'll even be able to play for, and that's leaving aside all of the catching up he'll have to do statistically. Of course, he could just make his triumphant return next week, and none of this would matter. And trust me, nothing would make me happy. He could also just very well come back to Na'Vi, take over a rifling spot, and leave Wonderful on the AWP. Or he could join a whole other org. Who knows? Either way, the game doesn't feel the same without the GOAT. CS isn't CS without s1mple. As for what else is going on, the new Liquid is the hypest thing I have ever hyped. Beyond psyched for that roster. Top lads all around. Dangerously high levels of copium when it comes to cheering for the new Liquid. FaZe's Frozen pickup was extremely good and honestly just about the only thing that could suitably replace Twists. That dude has deserved to play on a world-class roster since basically the day he entered Tier 1 CS. Vitality looks amazing with Mezzy, and the fact that he's English just makes the whole thing that much funnier. Falcons turned out sort of KEKW, which is also funny, but I'm genuinely curious to see what they can do. I really like Sunpius and Snappy as the GOAT, so even in light of their dubious funding, it's sort of hard to cheer against the roster itself. My biggest hope for the immediate future, though, is that Complexity are just able to keep this momentum train rolling. I love that Elige is back on top form and is just carrying like the good old days. That roster is really fun to cheer for, and I just hope they keep growing. Scratch that. My actual biggest hope is that when s1mple does make his return, he really plays up the theatrics and like actually gives us a Michael Jordan-ass I'm back moment that if anyone else did, it would be kind of cringe, but because he's actually s1mple, he can get away with that kind of thing. So yeah. Fingers crossed. You know what I want the announcement of? You know what would be the only thing cooler? Let's try to think what would be the sickest announcement. What would be the sickest return s1mple could possibly make? Like s1mple joins Team Liquid. s1mple has replaced Gumayushi on T1's League of Legends roster.